I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 7 years now. We met in college, and honestly, I always thought we had a pretty solid relationship. Sure, we had our ups and downs, but nothing that seemed insurmountable. We were planning to celebrate our anniversary last weekend, a weekend getaway to a cozy bed and breakfast in the mountains that I'd booked months in advance. I wanted it to be special, just us, reconnecting, leaving behind the stress of work and everyday life. I thought she was excited too. That's what made what happened even harder to process. Leading up to the trip, Lisa started acting a little weird. She'd brush off my questions about what she was packing or what she was excited for. Sometimes she'd get defensive if I tried to bring up the weekend. I figured maybe she was just busy with work or stressed out, so I didn't push it too much. Still, I noticed she was acting distant. More phone calls in the bathroom, quick goodbyes when I'd call her, and she'd always seem secretive about her phone. Little things, but enough to make my gut tighten. The night before we left, I came home early from work because I wasn't feeling well. As I was unpacking, I decided to check her phone, something I don't usually do, but I had this strange feeling. I've always trusted Lisa, but I guess I was just looking for reassurance. That's when I saw it, the messages. Not just friendly chats, but flirtatious texts, innuendos, and a lot of "can't wait to see you tonight." My stomach dropped. The messages were from her best friend, Jake, who she's known since high school. I couldn't believe it. I reread them and it was clear. She'd been lying to me all along. They'd been sneaking around for weeks, talking about meeting up, exchanging dirty messages, planning secret encounters. All this behind my back during what was supposed to be a romantic weekend. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there staring at her phone, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. I had so many questions swirling in my head. How long has this been going on? Were they actually having sex? Did she ever think about me or how much this was going to destroy everything? I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious. The worst part, I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't know what I was going to say or how she'd react. She's always been bitchy when caught in a lie, quick to throw a tantrum or deny everything. But this was next level. I was standing at a crossroads and I knew this weekend, this supposed celebration, was going to be the last time I trusted her, at least for now. I just hoped I could find a way to get through it without losing myself completely. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been run over by a truck. My head was pounding and my stomach was in knots. I knew I couldn't keep this bottled up. I had to get her to talk, to face the truth. So I waited until she woke up, which was early, probably because she was nervous or maybe just because she knew I'd be waiting. I didn't say anything at first, just stared at her when she rolled over and looked at me with those fake, innocent eyes she always put on when she sensed I was upset. Finally, I just blurted it out. "Lisa, I saw the messages, the ones from Jake. What the hell is going on?" Her face froze for a second, then the fake smile she always used to deflect came out. "What are you talking about? You're overreacting. It's nothing, just old friends joking around." I could see right through her. Her voice was shaky, her eyes darted around, and her deflective tone only made me angrier. "No, Lisa, it's not nothing. You've been lying to me. I saw the messages, the way you talked to him. Are you sleeping with him? Have you been cheating on me this entire time?" Her eyes widened and she scoffed. "Oh, come on, Mike, please, you're being ridiculous. Jake been my friend forever. You're just jealous." That's when I lost it. I told her I wasn't jealous. I was hurt, betrayed, and furious. I told her I'd never felt so humiliated in my life, that she'd lied to my face for months and I didn't even know who she was anymore. Her reaction, classic Lisa. She started crying, fake tears streaming down her face, throwing herself on the bed. "You don't understand. Jake and I, nothing has happened. We've just always been close. It's not like that. You're making it into something it's not," she sobbed. But her words felt hollow, like cheap excuses. I could see her trying to manipulate the situation, acting like it was just a misunderstanding, but I knew better. The evidence was right there on her damn phone. She was lying and she knew exactly what she was doing. I was hurt, but I was also angry. How could she deny it? How could she lie so brazenly? My mind was racing with all the times she'd been bitchy, dismissive, and secretive. This wasn't just about a weekend away. It was about the trust we built over years crumbling in an instant. I asked her again, what was she thinking? Did she actually think she could get away with this? Her only response was more tears, more denial, and a string of pathetic excuses about how she wasn't happy and needed her freedom. Yeah, right. That's when I realized I had to do something. I'd spent years trying to fix things quietly, hoping she'd come around, but this was the last straw. I told her I needed some time to think, that I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and I left the bedroom. I needed space, but inside I was boiling over. I couldn't believe I'd been played for a fool, and I knew I couldn't just sweep this under the rug. Not anymore. After I left the bedroom, I couldn't sit still. My mind was a whirlwind of rage, heartbreak, confusion, and a strange sense of emptiness. I kept going over everything in my head: how long she'd been lying, how she could look me in the eyes and act innocent, and how I'd been blind to all the signs. Honestly, I felt like a damn idiot. For years, I'd trusted her completely, and now I realized I'd been stupid to think she was anything close to honest with me. The whole weekend I had planned to rekindle what we had, to reconnect, and she was out there playing me for a fool. I knew I couldn't just sit around and do nothing. I had to figure out what my next move was. I didn't want to be that guy who just accepted betrayal and moved on. No, I wanted to make her pay, make her see what she lost. I wasn't about to let her walk all over me, especially not after she'd been sneaking around with Jake, of all people, that piece of shit. I'd known him since college, always thought he was a decent guy, but apparently even he had a dark side. And Lisa, she'd been so bitchy when I confronted her, so dismissive, like she didn't care about my feelings at all. That made me even angrier. I decided to dig into her phone just a little more. I figured if she was lying about her affair, there had to be more evidence somewhere. I needed to see the full story. I found her password easily enough. She's not exactly cautious, so I logged in. What I saw made my stomach turn even more. There were dozens of messages, some from Jake, some from other guys she'd been flirting with. And there were pictures, too, screenshots of sexy selfies, explicit texts, and even some of her in bed, acting like she was just innocently taking a selfie but with a clear intent behind it. Seeing her like that, so blatantly cheating, it hit me hard. I felt every bit of pain I'd been trying to stall. I'd trusted her to be faithful, loyal, and honest, and she'd just spit in my face. I couldn't believe how much she'd lied, how much she'd betrayed me. That feeling of heartbreak was followed immediately by a fierce urge for revenge. I wasn't going to be the guy who just gets cheated on and takes it. No way. I'd make her regret this somehow. I didn't know exactly how yet, but I knew I had to do something big. I sat back on the couch, staring at her messages, trying to calm down. But I couldn't. My mind kept racing. I thought about the weekend we'd planned, how she'd ruined it. I thought about how she'd lied to me for months. And I thought about Jake, how he'd betrayed me too, all for some quick sex or whatever twisted game they were playing. I felt sick. But underneath the sick feeling was a resolve I'd never felt before. I wasn't going to let her get away with this, not without a fight. I decided I'd confront her again, but this time I'd be ready. Ready to tell her exactly what I knew, what I thought of her, and what I was going to do next. I had to get my head straight and figure out my next steps. This wasn't just a fight for my relationship. It was a battle for my self-respect. I knew I couldn't keep this bottled up anymore. Sitting there, staring at all those messages and pictures, I felt the rage building up. I had to talk to her again, face to face, and lay everything out. The anger wasn't just about the betrayal, it was about the way she'd lied, the way she dismissed my feelings, and how she thought she could get away with it all. I waited until she was in the living room, pretending to be calm, but inside I was anything but. I called her out again, telling her I knew everything. Her response was typical, shrill, dismissive, and full of bullshit. "Mike, you're overreacting," she snapped, crossing her arms. "It's not what you think, you're just insecure. Jake and I, we're just friends. That's all it's ever been." I looked at her, trying to keep my voice steady, but inside I was seething. "Friends don't send each other sexy pictures, Lisa. Friends don't flirt like that. Friends don't lie to the person they supposedly love, so don't bullshit me." Her eyes flashed with that bitchy glare she's always had when she's trying to manipulate someone. "You don't understand. Jake, been there for me when you were. Maybe if you paid more attention, you'd see how lonely I've been. You're always working, always busy. This doesn't mean anything. It's just sex, and honestly, I didn't think you'd even care. That was the last straw. I felt like I'd been punched again. The way she said that, like I was some naive fool who didn't deserve the truth, made my blood boil. I told her she was full of shit, that I was sick of her lies, sick of her pretending everything was fine. I told her I was done, that I wasn't going to pretend I didn't know what she'd been doing. I was furious. My hands trembled as I yelled at her, demanding she tell me the truth. But she just shrugged, acting like it was no big deal, like she expected me to just accept it and move on. That moment was a turning point. I realized I'd been giving her too much leeway, too much benefit of the doubt. All those years I'd tried to fix things, tried to be understanding, but she kept pushing me away. I saw how selfish she really was, how she thought she could do whatever she wanted and I'd never find out. That realization hit hard. It made me feel like I was finally waking up to the truth. She wasn't the woman I thought she was. Not anymore. I told her she had one last chance to come clean, to tell me everything, but I already knew she wouldn't. Deep down, I knew this was the end of the line for us. After that confrontation, I felt like I was walking on a razor's edge. Part of me was still hoping she'd somehow surprise me, admit everything and maybe, just maybe, say she was sorry and want to fix this. But deep down, I knew better. Lisa's the kind of person who always has an excuse, always has a lie ready. It's like she enjoys twisting things around until she's the victim. That bitchy attitude, her dismissiveness, it just proved she was more interested in saving herself than facing the truth. I decided I needed to get out of the house for a while. I couldn't stand to see her face, hear her voice, or even look at her anymore. I packed a bag and left, telling her I needed space to think. Honestly, I needed to get my head straight, but I also wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done. I didn't want to be her doormat anymore. I wanted her to understand that she'd crossed a line and that I wasn't going to be the fool who forgave her easily. As I drove away, I felt a mixture of relief and despair. Relief because I finally knew the truth, and despair because I realized my life was about to change forever. Over the next few days, I kept replaying everything. The moments she was bitchy, the lies she told, the sexy pictures she'd sent Jake, everything. I felt humiliated but also angry. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I could have been so blind. But then I remembered the time she dismissed my concerns, made me feel like I was overreacting, like I was crazy for doubting her. That sort of dismissiveness always made me question myself, and now I saw through it. She'd been playing me for months, maybe longer. I also spent a lot of time thinking about what I wanted to do next. Part of me wanted to confront her again, to tell her I knew everything and to demand she end it with Jake. But another part just wanted to cut her out completely. I'd never felt so betrayed, so angry, and honestly so hurt. I had loved her. I thought I was building a future with her. But now, it felt like she'd just thrown that all away on some stupid affair. I knew I couldn't go back, and I didn't want to. I had to figure out if I even wanted her in my life anymore. The more I thought about it, the more certain I became that I was done pretending. This was no longer about fixing things. It was about ending the nightmare she'd created. I finally accepted that I deserved better than a wife who would cheat, lie, and dismiss my feelings like they meant nothing. The betrayal was too deep, the damage too extensive. I was hurt, yes, but also determined. I was going to move on and rebuild my life without her. It was the hardest decision I'd ever had to make, but I knew it was the only way I could start healing. I'd learned some harsh truths about trust, loyalty, and the kind of person I never wanted to be with again. Those lessons sting, but they're necessary. I just hope some guys out there reading this can learn from my pain before they find themselves in the same mess. In the end, I moved out, packed my things, and left the house I thought was filled with love and trust. It's been a few weeks now, and I won't lie, every day is a struggle. There are moments when I feel the sting of betrayal so sharp it's almost unbearable. But with time, I've started to find clarity. I realize now that I was never truly loved by someone who could betray me so easily. That was a hard lesson, but one I needed to learn. Looking back, I see how Lisa's selfishness and bitchy attitude kept her from ever truly caring about my feelings. She lied, cheated, and dismissed me, all for her own selfish pleasure. And Jake, he's just as much to blame. They both thought they could get away with it, that their betrayal wouldn't have consequences. Well, I made sure they understood that it does. I cut them both out of my life completely. The trust is gone, and honestly, I don't see a way back from this. What I've learned is this: never ignore the signs. Don't let someone treat you like dirt, no matter how much you love them. I was blinded by loyalty and hope, but now I see that some betrayals are too deep to fix. The pain still lingers, but so does the strength I didn't know I had. I'm slowly rebuilding myself piece by piece, and I know I'll come out better on the other side. To anyone reading this who finds themselves in a similar situation, trust your instincts. Don't be afraid to confront, to demand honesty, and most importantly, don't justify or excuse betrayal. You deserve respect and loyalty, not lies and betrayal. It's going to hurt, yes, but it's also an opportunity to learn and grow. I may have lost a wife I thought I knew, but I gained clarity about who I am and what I won't tolerate anymore. That's worth more than any false sense of happiness.